Alright, first things first, you need to draw out the plan on a piece of cardboard or a large sheet of paper. Those desktop calendars that cover half of your desk are large enough, but if you use a sheet of cardboard, then you can cut that out and you can lay it on your lap and whatnot and actually see if it feels good.
A metal yardstick. It's got to be metal so it doesn't expand like wood does. And change the measurements.
With building a guitar, you need a full-size map, and it starts with a center line. And a dog. A table saw. So let me show you the biggest reasons to not do this unless you have a planer or a bandsaw. It takes 6 to 8 times as much effort without those two tools. A planer, you can go flat within minutes. Doing it by hand with a sander, like this one, it takes multiple efforts. It takes unrelenting patience. Every few passes you have to go over with a straight edge, take a pencil and scribble off any high spots and then sand all over again. And without a planer, you really have to get the neck area flat. Otherwise the neck pocket's not going to be flat when you router it. Without a bandsaw, you have to go around these edges a ridiculous amount of times with sanding and smaller saws and different versions of sanding tools. It takes a ridiculous amount of time. If you're into that, great. If you're not, try to save up for those two tools. Any kind of ventilation you can find. You're going to need at least 4, if not 8, of these metal clamps, the ones that are adjustable. Try to get them, they're like 18 to 20 inches long. These quick grips really don't do you any good when you're trying to hold solid wood together. You should have at least 2 of these 12-inch hand screw clamps, a hacksaw, 4 to 6 inch C-clamps, 2 to 4 would be good, a variety of widths of tape, especially the painter's tape. It's got less tack to it. I buy these 16-ounce bottles of Titebond 3 Ultimate Wood Glue, rated #1 by pros, waterproof, exterior, interior, super strength, long assembly time, water cleanup. There's your plug. You're only going to need 1 bottle of Titebond 3 Ultimate Wood Glue to finish this entire project. The best thing you could do is use a PVC pipe, like a 2-inch or so, with a paint roller, but right now I don't have that. I ran out of wax paper. I'm using freezer paper. These multi-purpose kitchen gloves are stronger and reusable compared to these nitrile gloves. One-time use, and you're lucky if you even get done using them before they rip. So I recommend these. Alright, I'm choosing a 3/4 inch flat bottom Forstner bit so that I don't have to go very deep, but what I do go to, I won't go too deep because of this pin here. So I'm going to set the depth stop on the router so that that won't go too deep, and then we get started on the neck. Workmate bench, extension cord, safety glasses, router. Here, get hearing protection. These are for shooting, so they don't really do me any good, but it's all I've got. 6-piece wood chisel set, ranging from 1/4 to 1 1/2. 5-piece wood carving chisel set. My Dremel. A vise. I don't have any those center punches to mark out where the neck pocket screw holes are going to be, so I do have nails. So we're going to take these, we're going to make our own saw, our own center punches, and I was going to get all dramatic and get the Sawzall out, but I'm just going to stay quiet and use a manual saw. So what I did was take the nail, found a nail that fit in the screw hole without harming the threads. I marked it with a plier about a 1/16 of an inch above the hole. Do that 3 more times. I'm going to try 7/64 on a piece of scrap wood. Clutch drill press, floor mount, number 49383 model. I found a reason to look for the travel length. I have a 1 foot long bit. This table is 3/4 of an inch. I've got, so it's 2 feet. If you're going to use your drill table as a flat surface for building guitars, make absolutely certain that it's flat. This one is not, so I can't use it. See, this is what I mean by needing the proper equipment. See, this edge is crooked. I don't know how well you can see it, but anyway, the fact that I did not get those boards flush with each other changed how the router reacted to the wood surface, and so I'm gonna have to, I might need to put some shims in there to make it flat, glue them in there, and now I'm gonna have to check the depth or the height of the neck here. So right now I've got it set up for it's 12 3/4 at the 12th fret, so I've got it set up for 25 1/2. Now I just need some help to make everything square. I gotta have the strings the same distance apart, the same distance from the sides of the neck. So I'm gonna take a couple of strings, run them down here, and switch it back and forth until I find a perfect center, and then mark the holes. So I'm gonna have my wife hold the strings at the end of the neck here in their perspective holes or grooves. Alright, here's where the egg carton starts coming in. And EADGBE. Put all the parts in each pocket and you're good to go. Alright, so I need to find a drill bit that's smaller than the thread on the bridge screws. So the drill bit that will take the base of the screw and still leave wood for the threads is 5/64. And I don't have a small enough chuck in my drill press to do that, so I'm going to have to do it by hand with my drill. Since I did them by hand, they're not seated flat, they're kind of at an angle. So you definitely need to buy a smaller chuck for your drill press to get them going and straight. Lesson learned. Hopefully the other pieces will ride over them and not be affected. As far as the string holes, I can drill deeper or wider holes for those, so I don't have to worry about my drill press. As long as the string ferrules on the back will fit in, it's all good. I'm going to do 9/64 for the string holes because it doesn't quite fit in to the holes, so it should be plenty wide enough for the string. Alright, I want to get the size of the string ferrules. Eventually I'll be drilling for those on the back. Those are 3/8. Got a 5/16 thick foot-long bit here. So I'm gonna punch it through here, here, and here. 5/16 regular bit and a 5/16 1 foot long bit. Alright, so I'm going to cheat slightly. I'm going to use my drill to put a mark in the center here so that this bit doesn't wander. That's enough to get it started. So the 1/2" Forstner bit works out, so I'll use that. Electrical wire, stiff electrical wire, or a metal coat hanger to pull wires through. Needle nose pliers, a pick. Preset your clamps for the general size before you start messing with the glue. That way you don't have to fumble around before the glue gets snug. Because trust me, this stuff gets snug within 30 seconds. I know that it says compress it for 24 hours, let it dry for 24 hours, but you could put the next piece on within 2 hours and still clamp it up just fine. Just let it sit for 24 like it does say. 1/16 drill bit, 7/8 Forstner bit. If you're like me and you don't own a bandsaw, the next best thing is a jigsaw. So you gotta make sure you have a blade that will go through almost 2 inches of wood. And this little one was what was in my jigsaw, so I'm going to this longer one. Now going to a blade that's this long, you're gonna want to take it very slow. Make certain that it's sitting at a 90-degree angle. And this particular plate is bent, so this might get interesting. If you're using a jigsaw, you can see the issue I'm dealing with. Not only do you burn it, but you can't go straight.
the blade won't go straight down. So be careful.
3/16 inch drill bit.
Flush mount router bit and router table. Another router bit. This one doesn't have a bearing on it. It's just a hard surface. It'll run against the wood. So this is the importance of buying router bits with wheel bearings, because this bit, where am I? This bit is a steel shaft. There's no bearing on it, so it left a burn mark the whole way, almost the whole way around, on both ends. A wide assortment of files and rasps. I recommend a rasp. I don't really have that. This is what I've got, so this is what I'm going to start out with. If you don't have a bandsaw, you end up using a jigsaw. You can get a lot of blade deflection when you try to make the curve around a guitar body. You see all that light there? That's from blade deflection. Means when you're going around a corner or something, the blade will, bend like that, from the pressure that you're putting on it. So it's not gonna cut a straight line. So what I had to do is get a 1-inch long blade for my router with a bearing. I went off this top edge here, and it's almost perfect, but I can see a difference. I'm still gonna have to sand the heck out of it, and I've learned the hard way that I'm not gonna build another guitar body until I get a bandsaw. My tap and die handle is too small for this thread tap, so I'm gonna have to use an adjustable wrench. Alright, so normally what I would do is put a strip of double-sided tape here, stick the piece of sandpaper on it, wrap it around, put another piece right here, and try to get that as tight as possible. And let's see, this piece is 3 inches long. Alright, two-sided tape. I've got one of these round files, and put a piece of sandpaper around that to get into these real fine corners here, edges, whatever. Works out real nice. Tools, 5/32 drill bit. String ferrule correction on the front of the guitar is 3/16 drill bit. Use a 1/4 inch Forstner bit to go for the string through holes. Forstner bit will go straight down, it won't wobble. Their string ferrules are 3/8 of an inch wide and roughly 3/8 of an inch long. There we go. I need a Forstner bit this size. I'm gonna have to try to find one because this is pretty rough. So if you look up on Amazon, looking at drill bits, you'll probably see those little round things with the screw through them. I am totally at a loss for names of these things right now, but anyway, you slide them up the drill bit, you tighten them down, and you know, they're stoppers. So I highly recommend buying a set of those that will fit on your drill bit. It's a lot more accurate than a piece of tape, I can tell you that. I just don't have any right now. So these are the drill bit stoppers I was talking about. I should have gotten them before I started messing with buying or building guitar parts and bodies. You can get them in a pack, and they come with an Allen wrench. So you put it at the desired depth, use the Allen wrench to tighten it down onto the bit, and don't force it, you know, just tap it to whatever you're working on. That's all there is to that. These cost me, I think it was like $6, so I wish I would have just gotten them ahead of time, because I did drill quite a few holes that were way too deep. For gloves, you seriously need a set of these kitchen gloves, all-purpose gloves. They're tough, they're resilient, they really hold their own. I glued an entire guitar together before one of these got even the slightest little rip in it. But this type, this is after 1 hour of working on something. I got a random orbit sander, and things are starting to speed up. So I had a massive divot here from a clamp with a rubber boot on it. I expected the rubber boot to be, you know, keep it safe, but it didn't. So anyway, I had that divot here, and this random orbit sander took care of it in less than 5 minutes. Literally only about 2 or 3 minutes. I can't even feel it, I can't see it. There's no difference. It's perfect. So now I'm just going up in the grit number, getting ready for final sanding, trying to get up there to final sanding. After that, I'll use some lighter fluid and bring up the grain a little bit. Alright, every time I sand this thing down, I find yet another nick, so I'm assuming that it's my bench. So I swept it off and I couldn't find anything, but anyway, so I put an old t-shirt under it. I'm hoping that's going to stop every new nick that I find. Every time I turn it over, there's something else that wasn't there before. 2-inch foam pad, guitar body size. Use a 55/1000 bit to pre-drill the holes for these screws. Basically the smallest one you've got that will handle the screw for a tuner. Right now, kudos to Black & Decker. This drill is over 20 years old, and it's the only one that has a chuck small enough where it will actually hold a 40,000th bit. So I'm going to have to do this real old school. Let's put some more light on the subject. If you don't have a screwdriver small enough to fit these screws, you may need to get a set they use for watches, or glasses I mean. So this is the smallest screwdriver I've got, and I'm pretty sure that's the reason why the heads got chewed up. So I had to go to this one, and they're coming along, but I don't think I'm going to get them to seat all the way down because they're pretty much shredded now. 4 to 6 inch adjustable wrench, or a socket wrench, probably metric. I think maybe 10 millimeter, but be very careful if you use a socket wrench. So on a side note, I'll show you a very good reason why I use this egg carton, because if you take the bridge apart, you notice, see how small that spring is on the low E, and the A compared to the rest of them. It's less than half the size, so you got to make sure and keep them separate. If you have a Dremel that can get down to be this small, I would definitely use that, because this thing is massively bulky. If you want to be more accurate, just shove it down there. Take a plier and lift. Now it's marked. Just pinch it. And yes, it's a toothpick. This was a 5/64 drill bit. I wanted to use normal desktop tape, but I don't have any of that. So I don't want to take off any finish. So I'm going to cover everything I can. Alright, for future reference, 7/64 fits just well enough so that you'll be able to use it as a punch and mark the center. Pack of razor blades. See how this drill has it's completely pointed. All three edges are pointed. That's how you get a zero tolerance, to where you can actually fit the smallest bit on the planet into it. If you don't have a bit stop, you can put this bit is small enough to where you can just put it right in as far as you need to and make it its own depth stop. With a unit this big, probably gonna end up catching the surface before you get the drill down to where you need it to go, so it would be a best idea to actually go through and put a piece of tape down there if you don't have one of those depth stops. Now if you do this, double check the depth on the drill bit to the thickness of the headstock. I'm also going to show you the importance of choosing the right screwdriver. This is a number 1, this is a number 0.